Welcome to a new episode of the Sustainable Living Podcast. Today we are discussing one of the most significant upcoming changes for Europe's battery value chain, and that is the EU battery passport. And to understand more, I'm delighted to welcome Zinaida Nazarenko, Relations and Development Director at EUCOBAT, the European association representing compliance schemes for battery collections and recycling across Europe. Zinaida, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, good morning. Thanks, Nicoletta, for inviting. Happy to be here and happy to discuss the battery passport. And as you rightly pointed out, indeed, it is developing. It's one of the most important tools, I would say, for clean energy transitions. And so, yeah, let's dive in and
Let's
see
dive in.
what it is, yes, and why are we actually having it. So
you had a very interesting presentation on this topic in Bucharest, and you discussed about the EU battery passports. But for listeners who are new to the topic, what exactly is a battery passport, and why is Europe introducing it now? Why now?
All right, so maybe let me skip all these nitty-gritty technical details, because I don't think that the general public is really interested in that, because I think the core is to understand what is actually the battery passport, and as you asked already, why now? Why do we need this passport? So, battery passport is much more than the digital labeling. So I do see it as a cornerstone of the EU batteries regulation. So basically, it's like a digital record of the all essential information what each battery should contain. So because it will accompany the battery throughout its life cycle. So, and once we have a passport, we will be able to see information on the battery's identity, technical characteristics, sustainability performance, and its life cycle. Why are we having this passport now? It's because, well, if you look around, we have batteries everywhere. We're using batteries in the electric vehicles. We're using batteries for energy storage applications. We're using batteries in the enormous amount of the household appliances, smaller electric appliances. So it's really everywhere. And I think this is the time to understand your battery better, what it has, not only from the technical perspective, but also from critical raw materials perspective, from the due diligence perspective. So to have a whole picture, what is actually my battery about?
Mm-hmm. And how could it transform the way batteries are managed throughout the life cycle?
So if we talk about the battery passport, it's collecting all these dots, like loose ends from, because in the battery passport, who will be using it and who will be having access to it? It's the manufacturers, users, repair, second life operators, collectors, recyclers. Really, it's really very broad. It goes through the entire value chain. And also, I would like to point out that at the moment, the information on the battery is rather fragmented and not completely available. So this should change. And because as I mentioned before, battery passport will accompany the battery from, let's say, beginning of its life to a very end of its life. So it's like the whole cycle will be visible.
We are talking about battery traceability, and from a circular perspective, what do you think are the biggest benefits we can expect from it?
All right, let me paint it or put this into the 4 pillars. And I would like to start maybe with the most important for the EUCOBAT perspective. It's because we talk a lot about the safety and how can we improve the safety. So the first pillar is, of course, improvement of safety, because battery passport will allow us to understand the chemistry of the battery. So and how to collect it properly, how to transport it in a safe way, how to store it in a safe way, and how to recycle in a safe way. And here, this is particularly relevant for the lithium batteries. Second pillar would be better policy implementation, because all the information that we will be finding in the battery passport will help support extended producer responsibility, reporting, compliance, enforcement. So basically, better information would lead to the better decision throughout the battery cycle. And two remaining pillars. So better traceability, as you mentioning this from the beginning and up to now. So we will know where the origin of the battery and let's say whereabouts of the battery. So it's the whole traceability process and better resource efficiency because it will allow the higher recovery of the valuable materials. And here I'm talking a lot about critical raw materials that EU is actually really need for all the green technologies and sustainability and circular economy.
This sounds very promising, of course, we have to admit,
It is.
but in the same time, there are some challenges regarding implementation,
Oh,
which
yes.
is happening next year, or it should be happening next year. So, what are the challenges that industry and authorities still need to overcome before the implementation starts?
As you rightly spotted, challenges right now and next year because it will be in place. So it will become mandatory as from February 18, 2027. So really a bit more than a half a year and challenges. And this is not only about the battery passport, because we do see this in the EU policy scene quite a lot. Harmonization, because it's an obligation for 27 EU member states, and you can imagine how differently and fragmented it will be interpreted. So we're really always asking and calling for a better harmonization across the EU member states. Also, digital integration because different IT systems, and I'm not an IT person, but I'm already imagining that it's going to be quite difficult. So with all these IT systems, they would need to communicate. So to make this passport workable. Then data quality, because I think passport is only useful as information is useful. I mean, the data information should be solid and should be reliable. So then we have a good use of the passport. Governance. And again, getting back to the 27 member states, we need to know the clear responsibilities. Who uploads the data, who owns the data, who verifies the data, who have access to data. So all these questions on the architecture of the data are still like a bit in the air. And maybe to conclude, the last one from EUCOBAT perspective is the readiness, because we are still waiting for quite a number of implementing and delegated acts. And, without them, we cannot actually move. We cannot work on a passport. So I would say the sooner we get, the better we are prepared.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned traceability, you mentioned transparencies, both are very good, and
Okay.
we still we need them. But how about data ownership and confidentiality and commercial competitiveness? How do we balance all this?
This is a very good question, and actually, we are discussing this a lot, not only at the EU level, but also with other stakeholders, because there are lots of meetings happening on the battery passport. So, transparency does not mean that all the sensitive commercial information will become publicly available. So, because why? Because we have different users, and different users are looking for different level of access. So just let's take an example. For example, general public. I would like to know information about the sustainability performance and carbon footprint. So, and this is enough for me. If we talk about the authorities, I think they are more interested in the compliance data. If we are speaking about economic operators, it's the technical information. Recyclers, they need information on the safe treatment. So basically, we need to find the right balance between the transparency and protection of the commercial sensitive data. And this is one of the key discussions at the point.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier about the importance of practical and harmonized implementation across countries, across Europe. But how does success look like from your perspective?
All right. So, how do we see this? And I think I will repeat again what I said before regarding 27 member states. We want to have one harmonized European system. So, no fragmentation, please. Then we want to have this passport to be easy to implement at the practical level. So, it should be easy to apply, easy to use. Then also how it's going to interwork with the different IT systems. So it needs to be workable as well. And data, because we do talk a lot about the figures, we do talk a lot about the collection of data, but at some point we actually all agree that we need high quality data. And since, again, it's EU, we have 27 member states, and we do have quite a lot of administrative burdens. So it should be manageable at administrative level as well. So it should be, I'm seeing the passport should become a practical operational tool and just not another reporting obligation, because that we have lots of this schemes, reporting obligations, and this is different. It should be really a practical tool that will have a good use.
Mm-hmm. You have a member here in Romania,
Yeah.
and you are somehow close to what is happening here, to our context. And coming back to what you said about the ideal system, then what should the Romanian stakeholders should be focusing on until implementation?
Romania is not that different from the remaining 26 member states, and I think let me take a liberty here to say that we all will be facing the same challenges and our focus would be pretty much the same. So if we take authorities, I think authorities, they should prepare for a national implementation. They should provide clear guidance, and I think this word clear guidance is a key in this context. For producers, they should prepare digital data management. If we talk about the compliance schemes, it's how we should understand better how the battery passport will interact with the collection and reporting systems. And for the recyclers, they should be prepared to integrate this passport information into the treatment operation. So it's the whole model. And I think that everyone should cooperate. And in the next months, it will be basically about preparation, testing, and a lot of cooperation.
Looking into the future. And finally, how do you think the battery passport will have changed the battery industry in the next future?
You see, it's quite innovative, and I do see quite a lot of developments and engagement. And I'm from EUCOBAT perspective, I like to see that it's actually a blueprint for other digital product passports, because it will come. It's not only batteries that will have this, let's say, ID card / the passport. So but maybe I can have like two hats here, like, as a consumer and as a EUCOBAT person. So what passport would do is actually it will increase the trust because of the information that will become available to the users. It can improve sustainability. It can facilitate the second life, and we should not forget improvement in collection and recycling. So basically, again, recycling rates, collection rates, and also a bit of the awareness for the general public as well. And since we do talk a lot about the lack of the critical or strategic raw materials in the EU, I think this is one of the tools that actually will strengthen the EU's strategic autonomy for the critical raw materials. So
we are looking forward to this
so.
ideal scenario, right?
Yeah, I think we will have
Let's
quite a
hope
lot
for the
of
best.
developments. Yes. Yeah.
Zinaida, thank you for sharing your expertise and for helping us understand the opportunities surrounding the EU battery passport. Thank you for being here with us on Sustainable Living Podcast.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting.